Court is calling 2019 CR 4004B, State of Texas versus Santuan Wilson. Are both parties ready to proceed? State.
Mr. Wilson, I have a couple questions for you.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So then let's talk about what we all agree with, what you're saying is true. So you're telling this court that it is true that you and Derek Alexander went to Brianna's house June 23rd, 2018, right?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Who was the third person that went with you?
Do I have to ask that question?
Yes.
My brother Gary.
Gary went with you.
Mhm.
Who drove?
That's who was drove. It was only three of us
Okay. How'd you leave then?
because I got in the car.
Who drove the car?
Gary.
Okay. And so you and Gary and Derek went to Brianna's house. Were you invited over there?
No, that was family. So that's how we handle situations with family. We go and talk about them.
So you handle situations by threatening other family members?
I didn't say that.
And you handle situations by threatening them and taking guns?
I did not say that either.
And you said that you didn't take a gun to Brianna's house. How about Gary?
Nobody had no firearms.
How about Derek?
Nobody had any firearms.
So you're telling this court you didn't take a firearm with you when you went to that house?
Exactly. I did not take a firearm with me when I went to that house.
But isn't it true that you are a convicted felon, Mr. Wilson,
Yes, ma'am.
for felon in possession of a firearm? Isn't
Yes,
that
ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you say that your testimony is that you didn't have a firearm and you've never threatened anyone with a firearm, right?
No, ma'am.
But you also have a felony conviction for assault family second, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
And those are all recent in the last 10 years, aren't they?
Yes, ma'am. But it's an accomplishment to me. I know my mom proud of it. Ever since I was 16, I've been back and forth and out of jail. So for the last 5 years, I've been maintaining the appointment, and I have not, besides this case, been arrested at all.
And you don't want to go back to prison, do you?
Of course not.
You're going to say anything you can and make sure you don't have to go to prison, right?
No,
And you're going to accuse Brianna of lying, aren't you?
I'm just telling the truth.
And you're going to accuse Anthony Bagley of lying, aren't you?
I'm just telling the truth, man.
So when Brianna called you, why
Brianna,
didn't you go back when you knew the police were going to be there?
Brianna never called me.
Okay, so she's lying about that too.
About what? I don't get the
She's
question.
lying. So you're telling this court that Brianna lied when she said.
No.
Oh, in fact, okay.
He called her.
Let me ask you a different question. I apologize. So you heard Brianna testify that after you robbed her, you called her and told her to drop the charges. Don't do this, drop the charges. You heard her say that, didn't you?
Yes, I heard her say that.
Okay. So are you saying that that's a lie? You didn't, in fact, call her?
I did not call her.
That she's lying to this court by saying that?
Yes, she is not.
And so Gary, when this happened, Gary owed Anthony money for weed, right?
That's what I believe. That's the story I got from my brother. Yeah. But he had his baby mother had paid for it, and I guess they were still arguing about the situation. And Anthony ended up going to my mom's house.
Did you buy weed from Anthony also?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
You didn't?
Never, bro. Well,
What about Derek?
I don't know.
You don't know who he bought his weed from?
I don't even know if he bought weed.
And so when you went to Anthony's house or Brianna's house looking for Anthony, you were there to confront him, right?
Talk to him, make sure nothing happens to my brother, my little brother.
So you were mad that he had supposedly gone to your mother's house, right?
More like concern.
So if this was a family issue that you just wanted to resolve between the family, why'd you bring Derek with you?
Derek was already with me when I got the call. So, and he knew, and he went to school with Anthony. So, you know,
And you and Derek were good friends, right?
we,
So where's Derek now?
he's,
Section relevancy, just.
That'll be overruled. You can answer the question.
I believe he's in TDC right now.
And so he's in TDC right now because he took responsibility for this case, didn't he?
No, last time I talked to Derek, he had a pending case. He was on probation for 12 years. And I guess the state picked up this case. And then he was in county jail for over like almost 3 years, 2 to 3 years. And he called me. We were supposed to take it to trial, and he just couldn't do it no more. Like, he was ready to come home, and they offered him, y'all offered him 8 years to run concurrent with his 12-year sentence.
Okay.
So
So Derek Alexander, what you're saying is that he pled to this case and he pled to 8 years in prison on this case, right? That's what you're saying.
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
So Derek Alexander took responsibility for this aggravated robbery. He admitted to the court that he was there.
Speculation, Judge.
Sustained.
You've been talking to Derek while he's been in prison?
No, ma'am.
And so Gary, you're saying that Gary, your brother, was also there when y'all went to Brianna's house.
Mm.
And where's Gary?
I'm sorry. I
Where's
didn't hear
Gary?
the answer.
Where's Gary right now?
He's in county jail.
What's he in county jail for?
Do I have to answer that question, Your Honor?
If you know the answer, you just
Relevancy,
ask it.
Judge.
The relevancy will be sustained.
So, Mr. Wilson, when did you get arrested for this aggravated robbery?
I cannot remember the exact day.
I'm sorry?
I can't remember the exact day.
It wasn't the day it happened, right?
No, ma'am.
By the time you got arrested on this case, Derek Alexander had already gotten arrested, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you knew about this case.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you've had since, when did you find out that Derek got arrested?
I cannot answer that for sure. I don't.
But so you would agree with me that you've had since June of 2018 or a few months after that, whenever you got arrested, to come up with your story, right?
No, ma'am.
To plan how you were going to try to deceive this court, right?
Objection, Judge.
What's
It's
the
argumentative.
sustained?
So I guess, Mr. Wilson, what it comes down to is you're asking this court to, knowing that you're a convicted felon, knowing that you've had these charges pending since 2018, knowing that Derek Alexander has already taken responsibility for this case and gone to prison for this case.
Objection, argumentative is a compound question, Judge.
Sustained.
Knowing all of those things, you expect this court to believe your testimony.
Objection, relevancy, and argumentative.
Sustained.
I'll pass the witness.
Defense.
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, you may step down. Defense, call your next witness.
Transrest.
State, any witnesses?
No, Judge.
All right, the court will hear argument. State.
Judge, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Alexander, and now we know Gary Clark went to Brianna's house on June 23rd, 2018, looking for Anthony, perhaps, but ultimately what they did was rob her, and they had firearms. Her 2 young children were in the house, and they went into her house, went to her room and stole her money and placed her in fear, put her children in fear, placed all of them in danger by having these weapons. There is no reason there's no reason for Brianna to be here in front of the court lying. There's been no evidence that would show a motive for her to lie about any of this. And the court has heard not only the testimony, the defendant is a convicted felon for felon in possession of a firearm and other violent assaultive offenses, but Derek Alexander, the co-defendant in this case, has already pled to this case and been sentenced to prison for this case. So we can infer from that that this did happen. Had this not happened, Derek Alexander wouldn't have pled to this case and would not be in TDC right now. There is no reason to believe Mr. Wilson's testimony over Brianna, who is not a convicted felon, who has no reason to lie. This trial has been dragged out for days, and what it comes down to is Mr. Wilson is refusing to accept responsibility for what he did. So based on all of the evidence that the court has heard, I ask this court to find him guilty, because he is guilty, just like Derek Alexander was guilty.
All right, defense?
May it please the court.
Yes.
Although this case doesn't appear to be a kind of traditional case, and when I say that, Judge, is that this is a bench trial. And most times when we argue cases, is about the evidence and the law. I imagine the state kind of assumed that, well, the court knows the law and the complaining witness has no reason to not to say the truth. That the state, I would imagine, has somewhat a lower standard because this is a bench trial. My position, Judge, is that the law so requires truth. I mean, evidence beyond reasonable doubt.
I'm sorry.
The standard is still proof beyond a reasonable doubt. State still has the burden of proof. And my position, Judge, is that I know the court will have an opportunity to whether the court make notes or listen to, and I know the court listen to the evidence in the case. My position is that the state has failed to meet its burden in this case. Prosecution mentioned, well, because somebody else did a multiple plea, therefore he must be guilty. The court has to find him guilty because somebody else decided to plea. That's not the standard. My position, Judge, is that when the state mentioned that, well, Ms. Younger didn't have a reason to fabricate part of the story. Well, if there's an argument about drugs in a house where you have young kids, that's a reason in and of itself. So my position, Judge, is that we just ask the courts to carefully analyze, review, deliberate in this case, our position that the state has failed to meet its burden, proof beyond a reasonable doubt, and the court should acquit my client. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The court has listened to all the evidence. The court, as both parties know, closing argument is not evidence. So the court recalls all of the witnesses' testimony. The court does take notes, and the court has reviewed everything. And after reviewing everything and then taking in consideration all the evidence that has been presented to the court will find the defendant guilty. And so we will take him to custody And then the court will set this for a sentencing hearing. And I will get a,
Bro, I didn't really, I didn't, bro. Yeah, bro, I'm not going to jail, man. Boy, come on. I swear to God, I didn't know, bro. I'm not going, bro. Y'all gonna have to kill me. Mama, they gonna have to kill me, mama, because I didn't do it. No.